Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a Desde Cero con Manuel. Welcome to Right From the Start. I am your host, Manuel Longoria, and today we are talking to Aggie Alumni, middle school teacher, and my sister, Gloria Longoria. How you doing, sis?
Hi, fine.
Okay, how you been?
Good.
All right, let's get going. So let's start by asking, where were you born? Because we don't know.
I was born in Miguel Alemán, Tamaulipas, Mexico.
Mexico, right?
Yes, I was the only one of three siblings that was born in Mexico.
Right.
Since I was the oldest.
Right, you are the oldest.
Yes.
Our parents. Who are our parents? Yeah, it's about getting to know you. All right, we know you, but our audience doesn't know you, so we're asking questions.
Okay. Yes.
And we're asking about your parents.
My parents are Geronimo and Gloria Longoria.
Okay, and your siblings? Who are your siblings?
My siblings, starting from the oldest, is Geronimo, Manuel, and Edith.
Okay. And probably one of your favorite questions are, who are your grandkids?
Oh, my grandbabies. It's Rosalina Saldaña.
She's the oldest.
She's the oldest. And then it's Jorge. We call him Jorge Rene Garcia Jr. And then it's Andres and Camila Lisette.
Okay. And she's the
youngest.
The youngest. She was born last year.
Yes.
22. Okay. So before we get going, I'd like to remind everybody to please subscribe to Desde Cero con Manuel on YouTube and help us keep growing so we can keep bringing awesome guests like my sister here to the podcast. So please subscribe. Okay. So let's get going on the conversation. So when did you move to Texas? At what age did our parents bring you here?
I was a year and a half when my parents moved to Bryan, Texas. So this is really the only place I've ever lived in, ever known.
You were born and then immediately they came to Bryan, Texas, right?
Yes.
Directly to Bryan. So, okay. So when you started elementary, there were some teachers there that kind of influenced us.
Oh, yes.
Who were they?
I'll never forget them. Our kinder teacher was Miss Ramirez.
Miss Ramirez.
And then it was Miss Herrera, who is now Miss Martinez.
Okay.
And I remember Miss Dunn. She was our third grade teacher. And then it just changed. Miss Blair, which she left.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because those teachers kind of... Pretty much, we had all those teachers
at
Ross, right? Was
yes, at Saul Ross.
Saul Ross Elementary.
Saul Ross was the only bilingual elementary school when we were growing up.
Right. And we only went there maybe kindergarten to first. I know we did.
You did.
But I believe you stayed there all 4 years,
I
right?
stayed there through the fourth grade, and then I was still bilingual. And it was not until the fifth grade when I exited bilingual.
Okay. So growing up in West Side in Bryan, Texas, all right, I think we had a pretty cool upbringing, right?
I think we did.
And it was pretty fun. One of the things that I enjoyed was the bailables, the traditional Mexican folk dancing.
Yes.
All right, what do you remember about those days?
I remember getting dropped off at Chole's house. I mean, they called her like that. I never knew her real name. I don't know if that was her real name or not. But she was the first one that I remember that was teaching us ballet folklorico. And we would practice at her house, and then we would perform at Lulek Ballroom.
Right, for the Fiestas Patrias.
For the Fiestas Patrias, yes.
And no matter what day it landed, we danced, right?
We
it could be on a Monday, it could be on a Tuesday.
Yes.
15 y 16 de septiembre.
It didn't matter what day of the week it fell on. We were there, and we were all excited. And there was, I think we all got to participate.
Right. And there was a point in time where we all were doing it at the same time. All our cousins and everybody did it, and we did it for I know I did it for about 10 years.
Yes, so, it was back in those days. We kind of all knew each other. We were all related, and then the kids that went to Ross, we also knew each other. So,
okay.
Yes.
So, also, you were one of the first ones here who had a quinceañera. Do you remember that? I mean, I think one of your friends had one first, and then you're like, hey, let's have a quinceañera too. And because we never knew about quinceañeras here until...
No, it was not until after our quinceañera when it started getting, like people started getting different ideas and different things. But yes, they started getting televised and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I remember that your quinceañera was kind of one of the first ones who kicked it off here. And then nowadays, it's every weekend you have 2 or 3.
Yes, so, and it was the traditional pink quinceañera dress. Right. Now you have red and blue all and colors. Purple and all colors.
Right. We're getting to know you before we get going on the other questions. So what was our like I told everybody on our first podcast, we grew up listening to everything music wise. It was country, it was rock, it was Spanish, it was Tejano, it was everything. So what do you remember about music? What I remember the most was Saturday mornings, waking up to Gregorio.
To Gregorio Rodriguez and his coffee. Who didn't love that? And then the Tejano music coming on, which is what first started it off. And then when Carolyn came in, I think that's when more of the cumbia mexicano norteño, started coming in. So yes, it was a lot of Tejano at first, and then it started playing different music.
I asked all my friends from back in the days, like, you remember Saturday mornings when Gregorio used to be on, and we all used to sit down and eat breakfast and listen.
And listen to
it. Dad would come in with either barbacoa, menudo, or something like that.
Yes.
And it was awesome Saturday mornings.
Yes, nothing like they are now. I was sitting at a restaurant the other day, and everybody was on their cell phones, and it was a Saturday morning, and we were used to being at home, eating breakfast, and listening to the radio.
Right, and some people don't even wake up early anymore.
No.
They wake up late and miss breakfast.
Yes.
Going to the movies. I remember going to the drive-in. You remember going to the drive-in?
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember, the most I remember going to the drive-in was at Donna, Texas. You remember when we were in Donna for a year?
I think that's when we started going to the drive-in.
Right. That was the first time we went to the drive-in.
Yes.
Mom used to make food, and we used to bring it in the drive-in.
The drive-in. And I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about the Grease movie, because it was in Donna, Texas, when I first picked up a book, and I read the book before I saw the movie.
Well, in Donna, Texas, there was a Grease Day.
Yes.
And every grade did a dance.
Yes, I remember.
We danced. I was in kindergarten, and we danced Grease Lightning. Our class danced Grease Lightning. I don't know what you danced.
I don't remember the dancing part. I just remember dressing up.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a whole day of Grease.
Yes.
And that was in Donna, Texas.
Yes.
We were there for a year. High school. What high school did you go to?
I went to Bryan High School.
The only high school
there was back then. Yes.
Right. And graduated in 1988.
88.
Class of 1988.
88. It seems like it was yesterday.
All right, so you remember, and I bring this up because I'm gonna have in a future podcast, I'm gonna have these ghost hunters come in.
Okay.
So, our house is haunted, and it's always been haunted, and we've never told a lot of people, but there's been a lot of I guess sightings and people telling us that they've seen things in our house.
Okay.
Do you remember seeing anything or hearing anything about it? I mean, I've heard some noises. I've heard babies crying and stuff. But what do you remember about our house being haunted?
Growing up, I don't remember having any experiences with the sightings or anything like that. But I did hear, like, in the past year. And it really, really scared me. But I mean, we have nephews that are afraid to go in there because they've had experiences.
Right?
Even one of my kids had an experience there. And if you talk to our kids and our nephews, they've all spoken about things happening there or things they've heard or seen. So, I mean, that's the only experience I've had.
Right. Because I haven't told a lot of people, but you know, maybe I've told y'all that Lisette, my daughter that passed away, she used to see a guy dressed in black, and she saw him a few times, and she would say, "Hey, you know, I just saw the guy again," and you know, it always creeped me out. But and that's why I'm gonna bring these guys in and talk about that, and they're gonna go to our house and check it out.
Oh, well, that's gonna be cool.
So stay tuned for that podcast. We're gonna bring in some ghost hunters and go in there. So that's a little preview to a future podcast.
Oh, that should be interesting.
And what started it all, I don't know if you remember, when we went to Ciudad Mier, before we came back, we stopped at one of these little stores, and there was a Ouija board.
Yes, I remember the
We
Ouija
bought
board.
that Ouija board, and after that, we were playing with it at the house, and after that, things started to happen.
Things started to happen, yes. Don't buy Ouija boards.
So, and it was pretty creepy, you know.
It was.
At the time, but, you know, the Ouija board was pretty fun. So, yeah, a
lot of funny experiences with that Ouija board.
I think we burned it, didn't we?
We had to, apparently. Yes.
Yeah. So okay, let's get into it and let's talk about Texas A&M. When did you decide to go to Texas A&M?
Right after high school, I get married and I have my baby, my first son, Jorge, and I am going to school to become a medical assistant,
right.
And I work for that for about 10 years. After that, me being the person who I am, started getting a little tired of, the medical field. It was kind of something that I had always been told when you're growing up, oh, you're going to be a nurse. You're going to be a nurse.
Right,
So it kind of stays in your mind. You're going to be a nurse. So I kind of felt I had to go do that. Well, then my sister is working for the district, and then she was so in love with her job. We started talking, and I decided to leave the medical field and go work at the schools part-time. And that's when one of my friends said, hey, you should go back to school. And I had always dreamed of going to A&M.
Right.
Always. My mother worked for A&M. She worked at one of the dining halls, and she would always take us on trips.
Take us on trips.
Yes, to A&M, and that was just, when I come here, and that dream kind of started fading, and then suddenly, I'm
there
like...
There was an opportunity. At what age do you go to Texas A&M?
Oh, wow. I was already in my 30s.
30s?
Yes.
Late 30s?
30s. I don't remember exactly how old, but I was in my 30s.
Right, because how long did you go to Texas A&M? You kind of took your time, right? You weren't rushing it.
It took me a while. I had 3 kids. I was married at the time, so I was a mom, a wife, and I was still working full time. I started off at Blinn, and that started like 1 class, 2 classes, right. And then by the time I transferred to A&M, it's already been about 3 or 4 years, what you would normally take, you know,
'cause
going full time.
The message here is it's never too late.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's
And
never too late.
And every time I hear somebody say, "Oh, well, no, I can't. That's not possible. I have too many things to do," I just remember, you know, how many things I had going and still trying to finish school. And when I finally transferred to A&M, I am working. I am still working full time. I still have the 3 kids, you know, with the kids, and I am working part time at a restaurant on the weekends, and then I'm taking care of retired older lady.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, and I was going to school. So
You had a full load.
I had a full load. Yes, but I never, I didn't want to give up.
Right. You kept grinding.
Right.
And you was like, I'll get there.
It got harder and harder, but, you know, there was days I was like, I can do this. There was days I felt like I couldn't, but I just kept finding reasons to continue.
Right. And again, it's never too late to do something.
Never too late. I mean, it took me a good, I'm going to say,
at least 10, right?
8, 9 years,
right? Yeah. It took you a while, but you got done. And
yes.
And you graduated.
And now I've been teaching 9 years, 10 years.
Right. So what was your major at Texas A&M? What was the major on your diploma?
I had a Bachelor's of Science.
Bachelor's of Science?
Yes, bilingual education.
Okay. So why did you decide to become a teacher?
I was inspired.
Was it going right off the bat, hey, I'm going to college to become a teacher?
Yes. I was inspired by the bilingual program and me growing up bilingual, and I wanted to give back to the bilingual students, the students who had my background,
right,
and who were going through what I was going through,
okay,
what I had gone through.
So what school do you currently teach?
Right now I'm teaching at Sam Rayburn.
Sam Rayburn Middle School.
Middle school,
right? But
elementary.
Where did you start?
I started at Fannin Elementary.
Teaching what grade?
I taught kindergarten for 9 years.
For 9 years, you
Yes.
taught kindergarten?
Kindergarten.
Wow.
Yes. And actually, kindergarten was not my first choice.
Okay.
When I was in college, every time they asked me, what grade do you want to teach? I would say second. Always second.
Why?
Why? Because I felt like they were at an age where they were old enough to work on their own, and you could still, they were still teach. You could still teach.
Right.
But then when I get hired, they're like, no, the only thing we have is kindergarten. And I'm like, okay, oh my gosh. So I tried it, and then I loved it. Yeah. My grandmother, who had passed away the same year I started teaching, she had always told me, ay, mijita, you should teach.
Abuela
Ophelia. She said, ay, mijita, you should teach kindergarten. I said, no, abuela, why should I teach kindergarten? She said, because whatever you teach them, that's what they're learning first. Right. They'll never forget that. And I made the greatest memories with my students in kindergarten.
Do you have a favorite memory of the kindergarten class?
Of my kindergarten class,
and all those 9 years that you taught, what was do you have one that sticks out the most?
The first time that when I received that first class, my first year teaching, I had that summer I went through I had medical issues. So I am going through all these medical issues. I just feel devastated. And then I get hired like in May, and all summer up until August, I start having medical issues. So the day that I have the meet the teacher night, that's the day I get diagnosed with lupus. And I mean, I cried. I went to that appointment and I had to come back for meet the teacher. And I cried all the way. And my principal, who was awesome, Mr. Fellows, he said, are you going to be okay? I'll give you a minute to get together. And he goes, if you need time, you don't have to be here. I said, no, I'll be here. And I looked in the mirror. I said, girl, you'll be fine. And I look out the door, and here comes this little boy in a little suit, ready to meet his teacher. And I forgot about my problem. I forgot about my issue. And I feel that I was put there for a reason, and they gave me strength to keep going.
Do you remember his name?
I do not.
It's a long time.
Yes.
Right, he's probably like 15 now.
I remember his little face.
Right.
I'll never forget his little face. And I see it all the time, and then I think of his name, and then I just can't.
Yeah, I have a few kids like that when I taught boxing, that as soon as they walk in, you're like, man,
Yes.
They kind of give you a little bit of more motivation to.
They were my
there,
motivation.
Right.
They were everything that year. I mean, for the rest, the upcoming years.
Right. So after Fannin, where did you go? Because didn't you move to Katy for like a year?
I did.
Was it from Fannin and then
then I went to Katy. I did go to Katy. I went to. I went there.
When we say Katy, we mean Katy, Texas.
Yes.
Right.
And then I was there not even half a year.
Right.
And there's no place like Bryan ISD. I'll tell you that much.
All right. Yeah, y'all hear that?
There's no place. There is no place like Bryan ISD. I love Bryan ISD.
What makes it so great?
Their family.
Family.
Their family.
The everybody.
The environment, everything.
From the administrators all the way down.
All the way down.
Okay. So when you get back from Katy, is that when you start going or working at Sam
when
Rayburn?
I get back, I am. It's in January when I get back, and there was nothing available, being that it was in the middle of the year. So I call my principal, who she had been my principal at Fannin, Miss Ryberg, and I called her like at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think it was so early in the morning. I moved back to Bryan, and at the end of January, and I come to 6th grade social studies.
Okay, so you currently teach social studies at Sam Rayburn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you remember about graduating Texas A&M?
Oh, I was super excited. When I go on the stage, I felt like I was flying through the stage. And then to my big surprise, when I walk down the stage, when I finally get my diploma, I walk down the stage, and Rosalinda Castillo Arreguin, I believe was her last name. She was waiting for me at the bottom of the stairs. Right. Rosalinda was one of the first people who I heard talk about college. She was our neighbor growing up, and she was, I think at that time, either going to college or getting a master's, because I remember she would ask me to come over, and I could just touch her books and smell her books, and she would ask me to read that word and, like pretending that I was helping her.
Right.
And
she did inspire a lot of people.
Yes, she inspired a lot of people. And when I saw her at the bottom of those stairs, I was so excited, so excited.
Right, and she passed away a few years ago.
She did, but she did impact a lot of people.
She was one of the people who kind of influenced you into, hey, I can still do this. Right?
Yes, yes, she was one of my professors when I was in school, and I mean, it just felt right. Right. Yes, I think she inspired so many people, right. And she really was a big inspiration in my college career.
Right. She was.
Yes.
So, okay. So how do you like being a teacher? Do you enjoy it?
If you don't enjoy it, then you shouldn't be a teacher. Okay. I love being a teacher.
Right. How's the workload? I mean, you got to go home and grade papers and do all that kind of stuff, or is everything now computer? I'm still thinking about, our teachers bringing home a big bag of, exams and stuff.
I still bring the bag of papers to grade, but I feel like I'm a big multitasker, mm-hmm. So grading has never been an issue for me. I know our principal does not train us with meetings after school, okay. And we do have meetings during the day, like Monday we'll have a PLC meeting, which means that they update us with school information and things we need to know, and on Tuesdays we plan, but other than that, I have never felt that the pressure or the overload. Right, overload. I have never, but I know a lot of teachers have, especially when you're a new teacher. There's so much to learn and so much to do.
Right. So are you the parent that goes home and calls parents? or the teacher that goes home and calls parents?
I try not to overload parents with phone calls. I mean, if I make a bad phone call, I try to make a few that are positive.
You're the teacher that kind of cares and say, hey, he needs help, and this was happening.
Yes.
And you get parents who blame you for it.
Up until now, thanks. I've never had an issue with the parent.
So what is your classroom like? What is the atmosphere in your classroom? Is it fun? Is it everybody quiet? Was it that 80-year-old teacher we used to have, and with the ruler, spank your hand? No. Back in the 70s and 80s type of teacher.
I try to have a positive relationship with my students, and that starts since day one. Okay. If you cannot have that positive relationship with your students, it's going to be chaos for the rest of the year, which is something I came to when I first started with sixth graders. Right. Okay. I mean, come on. I have been teaching kindergartners, for 9 years, and then I, come into sixth graders, a totally different story. But, and it has taken me a while. I'm not going to say it's been easy, but you have to learn how every age is different. Right. And the way you communicate with them is different.
It's harder to teach sixth graders, right?
Oh, of course. Yes, but it's not any different than kindergarten. Yes. Just because they're tall and 11-year-olds does not mean they already know. Right. And a lot of times that's what we expect. They already know the little things. They already know the cutting. They already know how to handle scissors. They already know. And no, we need to, every time we teach something, it has to be step by step.
And they don't know their sixth grade social studies.
They don't know social studies in sixth grade, so it's something new. It's new. Right. It's new every year.
Right. So, what are your goals as a teacher? I mean, do you plan just to teach, or later on in life, do you plan on going to administration or doing something else with teaching?
I've had thoughts of going. Every time you want to do something different in the education field, you have to go get a different master's or get a master's in everything. So yes, I've had thoughts here in this past year to go get a master's in a different position in education.
Continue your education so you can move up the ladder.
Yes.
Okay. So what else do you want to add to the podcast? What do you want to say? You have anything do you want to add?
I just want to say that, to all the teachers out there, don't give up. The students, they need us. And a lot of times we are the people they look up to. And, just love on them and be patient.
Wow. That's probably the best message we had on Desde Cero. So that was pretty neat. Okay, so I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Anything you want to add, any shout-outs, any hellos you want to send out? Yes,
I want to send out a shout-out to Fannin Elementary and all my students that I had at Fannin, and Sam Rayburn and all the students there at Sam Rayburn. My principal, Miss Ryberg, she's awesome. And my grandbabies, they're our future. And for my personal kids, thank you for being there throughout the struggle.
Right.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, guys. Jorge, Edgar, and Sylvia.
Right, because Jorge is part of the Desde Cero team, so I want to send out a shout out to Jorge, and he helps out the program. So
yes, that's amazing. Thank you.
Your T-shirt's on the way. So okay, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and a quick reminder to please subscribe to Desde Cero con Manuel, and continue to help this podcast grow. And I want to thank everybody who's already subscribed and support our podcast. So thank you very much.
And to our parents.
Gloria and Geronimo Longoria. Thank you guys for always supporting everything we did.
Yes.
Like everything.
Everything.
We did. So we love you guys, and we'll see y'all next time, and thank you.
Thank you.